So, mayong hapon sa tanan. So, first of all, sir, we are very thankful na accept ka sa mong invitation. And my name is Marinjel Renduyantas, and these are my groupmates sa interview. And pwede may maka-know sa mga full name, sa mga profession, and given naman kita gaya, ito yung nasisunod.
Okay, so my name is Loy Vincent Yaga. I am a faculty member from the Department of Filipino and Panitikan.
So, mag-start ka sa first question, sir. So, Sir Loy, what inspired you to become an educator, and how has that shaped your approach to teaching and learning?
Basically, my career in being a teacher started in the year 2017, but back then, when I was in college, I was enrolled in an electronics engineering program, but then shifted to this program because I find myself na parang more passionate when it comes to language and literature. And afterwards, I see myself na parang I love teaching the eye. That's why I pursue even master's degree, as well as recently after my master's 2022, I took the parang board exam because I find also very relevant for me after 5 years graduated in college. Afterwards, nakita na akong self na need na ako og strategy muna nag-eskwela ako og education units in 2022, and that's the reason why I'm really passionate about teaching, because I love how I capture ideas from the students, also their perspectives when it comes to the discussion inside the classroom.
So, same day, Minister, no, kay gikan po ko program from CCS, and ni-shift ko sa philosophy because mas gusto ko of literature. And on to the next question. So, sir, how would you describe the philosophy of teaching you practice in your classroom?
Okay, philosophy and teaching, basically, daghan kay sa nga tanan about sa case na ako inside the classroom, I always see my philosophical frame or philosophical point of view by asking my students first, rather than discussing on my own perspective sa akong views nako sa akong discussion. But during the discussion or lectures, I always see to it na ako ang mga student is engaging siya. That's my philosophy of education also, na dili lang perminti mauna ako ang prinsipyo, but also to cater their needs as students, because sila man ang life sa ko ang classroom, rather than me giving a life sa classroom.
Also, Students Day, Minister, sa Filipino, sa Filono 2, and we can say dyan na effective ang philosophy of teaching ni Sir Kay. Kuan kayo ang class bitaw ka na very cheerful and dili siya bugat. So, sa next question, sir, is there a particular theory or tradition in philosophy of education that resonates with your perspective or guides your approach?
Since then, I always practice this philosophy na student-centered ang klase. That's basically one of my framework na ginasunod, right? Even after pila ka years na nagtudlo, I've been teaching 8 years. So, since then up until now, man akong ginasunod always. I always engage my students first. Tapos, this framework man gud akong ginasunod karon na student-centered ang klase. Much more effective siya. It's because although different courses ang nasa inside the classroom, but they engage well as long as na makater nimo ilang mga needs sa mga iyong ganina.
Well, thank you, sir. So, sa next question, sir, can you share a moment when your teaching of philosophy was clearly reflected in your classroom practice?
Oh, sure. First is the last year. Every year naman ko yung mga experiences from time to time. But last year, when I asked my student kung sa ilang mga dreams in life, one student stood up and said inside the classroom na they wanted to, after they graduated in college, they wanted na parang makasakay sila airplane, no, together with his parents. Afterwards, after a meeting, nag-create ko activities. Tapos, it's a plain ticket activity. Dayon, nag-create yung kung mga materials, learning materials, which is to cater their, parang at least ma-fulfill nila ba nga, they're getting there, no? Kahit man lang sa classroom, they could feel na, okay, kaisa pala si sir sa dream na, sa pag-build of dream, ani nga mga dreams sa ako ang self. So, student-centered na siya, it's because nakita na ako nga, dili man to, katong idea, ako lang ang nag-perform, but katong idea, gibuild to sa akong mga students na team.
So, sa next question, sir, what kinds of classroom activities or strategies do you intentionally design to reflect and embody your teaching philosophy?
Okay, basically, kung face-to-face activities ang isgutan, I always create parang learning materials yun. I-create kong mga meta cards or gaming cards na pwedeng magamit sa mga students from time to time. Like for example, recently lang nag-create ko og it's a parang Philippine mythology na cards, mga characters sa mga Philippine mythology na mga known kaayo sa nga tanan, then ako gi-integrate sa klase. So at least man lang makita nila ba how important it is to know the culture by this meta cards. At the same time, recently then I created a parang bingo card for my students. Engaging siya. I want them to engage more. Nga dili bitaw nila makita lang ang kaninga subject is more of the theoretical but more of the application nila ma-apply in reality later part. So that framework, no, that activities na akong ginahimo. Tapos kung sa mole classroom pod, activities na pwedeng ma-apply nila in reality, not only inside the classroom but outside. Kaya recently na mag-shifted man to online classes or asynchronous classes. So those activities being performed by my students, I assure them na pwede lang magamit, no? Parang I always engage them to the community, to the place na sila na belong. So that's basically the activity akong ginahimo.
So very effective kay ang teaching ni sir, no, kay very student-centered jud siya. And so sa next nga answer ka na question, so what advice would you offer to future educators developing their own philosophy of teaching?
Okay, always cater your students. Dili lalim mo tudlo, but it become more easier to teach pag na kay love into teaching towards your students. Kay kaning mga estudyante later part, they need to see the beauty of their learning. So wala ko ilain makikatambag, but always engage and let your students be part of your class rather than you as a teacher parang ginahatagan nimo og own nimo nga value imong pagka-teacher, but always give value to your students because sila man imuhang ginahatagan og importance inside the classroom. Sama sa yung ganina, ang estudyante ang life sa klase.
So makita dyan nato, no, kung unsa ka importante ang student-centered nga teaching, kay dili man tanang students gud nga ganahan maminaw sa teacher nga siya ray permanente magyap, di ba? So makita dyan nato ang effective na sa pag-teach ni sir. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much to my students.
Sir, nadimi gamay
Grabe,
na tokens.
thank you so much. Grabe naman ni ka-prepare ba nga group.
Thank you guys, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless sa inyong kuan.
Thank you, sir.
Saan inyong subject?
I'd like to share my reflection sa interview. Ang mas tinitakil sa ko kay ang giingon ni Sir Loy na always engage and let your students be part sa imong class. Kaya ang students mo na sila ang life inside the classroom. And as student ni Sir Loy karon sa Chat 130, kaya I can really say na grabe siya ka student-centered kay he really let his students bitaw mag-share sa ilahang thoughts, opinions, ideas, and raise questions if ever like naaman may wala na sabtan. And nabo siya mga activities na grabe ka engaging nga pwede po ma-apply outside the classroom. Open siya for discussions, and I can really say na ang ideas and opinions sa iyang mga students kay nagmatter gid sa iyaha. Overall, this interview showed us how a student-centered teacher truly inspires growth and makes learning more meaningful.
Hi everyone! So today I'm going to share my thoughts about sa interview na gikandak namo with Sir Loy. So one thing I learned about him is that siya ang type of professor na very passionate and responsible. He always allow his student to engage in the class, so he would always ask for their thoughts and opinions before his. And I also really like the part where katong nadugduman niya nga nagpa-activity siya with his students katong airplane ticket to give them the experience bitaw even though inside the classroom lang. So I can really see how passionate he is, and that dili siya type of professor nga maghatag lang og random activities sa students, though wala bigid bitaw natun-an, but he is someone bitaw nga he won't allow his students to live in the class without anything na hatun-an. And also I can really see na how genuine he is and how hardworking he is. He makes sure that the class is enjoying and at the same time is learning. So mao lang to, he really inspires me to become, if you want, like he inspired me in a way na do better in your job. And he also said na if you aspire to be a professional teacher someday, you have to do it well. Ito lang.
I would also like to share my reflections sa interview. Okay? What really inspires me about Sir Loy is how student-centered he is. Kanang, it's not just about finishing the topic or lessons bitaw, but it's about making sure students feel valued. And itatanggit sa ako ang point ticket activity niya kay I know how it feels when a teacher recognizes your dream and actually makes it part of learning kay it makes you feel seen bitaw. And in his class po, based on what I've heard kina Marnie and say Bea, since students sila ni Sir Karon, I feel like learning isn't boring bitaw because he connects it with things students can relate to. And for me, that matters a lot because it shows that education isn't only about grades or requirements bitaw, but it's about us as an individual. That's why I find Sir Loy's philosophy so inspiring because it makes students feel that their voice and their future really matter. So hello everyone. We were asked na maghimo og reflection vid. So before I proceed sa ako ang reflection, I would like to apologize first if for some it might seem as ang interview is informal. Pero before sa interview guys, before ni nag-start, nangita ko og bakante, and sa amo ang classroom sa Filipino, bakante unta siya, pero ana man si sir nga dito lang dagawas sa Filipino department. And also naamo siya prior matters mo pod good after sa among interview, so dili siya gusto nga malayo-layo bitaw. And proceeding sa among reflection, ako ang reflection sa ako ang na-learn ni sir is very simple lang jud kayo. It is kanang ang philosophy mo ni Sir Aloy is student-centered, and I think as a student na mo thrive og inana nga environment sa classroom, I think it's very nice ra pod kay si Sir Aloy makita po sa imuha sa iya bitaw nga very passionate kay siya siyang himo, and makita jud nga minit jud po siya motudlo guys kay ang environment bitaw sa classroom kay it is very light and dili siya bugat because ang vibe ni sir is very light lang po kayo. Another reflection na lang po sa katong interview na ni Sir Loy kay I've learned po nga in able to do your job properly is that you need to love it. And I think makita man po nato sa vibe pa lang ni Sir Loy nga very passionate education and from his background naning na. And I think importante jud kay nga aspect bitaw in order for the students to learn not just theoretically but also practically, which is also I think na gina-embody po ni Sir Loy. So I think that's all ra sa akong reflection. Thank you.